G'day YouTube, welcome back to Pommyinoz. It's me, the Pom, Dan. How are we all doing? First of all, thanks so much. We've smashed over 100 subscribers when you watch me cry about my beloved Carlton. I really appreciate the love and support you all sent me. A few of me mates took the mick and asked if I was on watch, so thank you very much to all of you. If you are new around here, please like and sub. The aim is to try and get 200 by the end of round 5. That would be phenomenal if we could. And today what we are doing is we're just going to go through and just recap a week in the footy world. So, I mean, it's great to have footy back. I mean, for me, it's everything I love about life. And it's amazing that I've survived 25 years without this beautiful game. It is just like literally everything I've ever wanted in life. And I am super stoked to have it, even though the video the other day probably says the opposite. And I mean, we started off with Collingwood versus Richmond, and there was all them questions, wasn't there? The media were just going totally bonkers with the, oh, we need to have 20 minutes back, we need to go full length, change the interchange, bring rules in, it's a bore fest. And then you get the occasional nuffy who decided to drop some sexist comment about AFLW, you know, classic Australian sports stuff. And it was, I mean, personally, I enjoyed the Collingwood-Richmond game for two reasons. One, I thought, Jesus, we can beat both of these sides. They don't look much cop. And two, it was just a defensive display, wasn't it? It was a defensive display of excellence from both sides. So, I mean, for me, I come from a country where, you know, we play our beloved game for 90 minutes and a draw is inevitable. So, I froth a draw. Then we went and saw Geelong, and if you're a Carlton fan like me, you were like, freaking hell, Dangerfield looks quite good, doesn't he? Atkin and Old Mears look alright. And then you were like, oh shit, they've got to play on Ploughman next week. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I mean, they absolutely destroyed them. And I've got to say, I've got kind of like that horribleness about me that I just really enjoy seeing Clarkson miserable. There's just something really good about it. It's like, you know, it always reminds me of me dad, my late pop, and I used to love winding him up as well. There's just something, you know, spectacular about seeing that guy miserable, because he just looks like a miserable git, doesn't he? But I mean, fair play to them. Geelong looked really good, and you would say that they probably played the best football of that round. They looked very convincing. And then obviously we went to Brisbane. They got up against Fremantle, no messing around there. Charlie Cameron, it looks a gun. That Fife doing his own thing. Carlton, we lost to Melbourne. It still hurts. I'm getting a bit better though, the love and support of you guys. I'm starting to get into, you know, round 3 mode. So, you know, the Carlton blood is running through, and I'm thinking maybe we're a chance. So come Friday when we do this preview, I'll probably be, you know, banging off the wall. You know what I'm like. Then we had Gold Coast. Now, Gold Coast really impressed me, and the story there was just a wonderful one. Matt Rowell. How good was Matt Rowell? He pretty much destroyed West Coast, pretty much on his own. 2 goals, 26 touches and 7 tackles. He looked phenomenal. And, I mean, yeah, what a pickup if they can keep him. I mean, even Anderson did well. I mean, what I like about Gold Coast, and I'll say this now, is Dew sets up the right way. He gives it a go, and it's a brand of football. And to be honest, I enjoy watching it, man. Like, I'm converted. I'm partial to the Suns. And then we went to probably the worst derby I've ever seen. As a Rangers fan, we've had some bad ones against Celtic in recent years, but that was woeful, wasn't it? It's making my tipping look worse because I went against TPI on that, and TPI didn't do well. We'll get to tipping in a minute. 110-35, and you know, Travis Burke, he just gets better and better, isn't he? He's like a fine wine. What do they put in the drinking water in Adelaide? Mind-boggling. But it was really, I mean, I did enjoy the game, I've got to say. I was watching the other game at that time because it was really one-sided. It was hard to watch. But no, it was a good game, and I mean, like, going into next week, I mean, Port do look the form team, and I'm a big fan of Port Adelaide, I've got to say. That's mainly because of Terry. He forces it, closet Port fan. And then we had North Melbourne, and this is where it started to go wrong here. Now, North Melbourne fans, I know Ryan McGrath, you watch the channel. Shout out to you, mate. I'm really happy for you. You had a really good win against GWS. But I hate North Melbourne for one reason. They screw my multis. And there is nothing worse than putting $50 on them mugs and them do blooming Pike when he's riding the last at Berwick, man, and screw it up. Can't stand it, man. But, I mean, that was a really highly competitive game, I thought. But I didn't think both sides played very well. Like, they didn't play mind-bogglingly well, but I thought Goldstein had a masterclass, and I always thought the Jacobs signing was a bit weird. GWS lack a ruckman, big style. Cornelia obviously being the pick of the bunch, but I was really impressed with how Pollock played, and Higgins and Simkin. He looks really good. My boy Kamza, I'm a big fan of the Zerdog. Yeah, North looked really tasty, man. And it's kind of was hard Sunday because teams that I thought Carlton could maybe beat, yeah, they look good. And then I had to watch the Bombers, and I say this painfully, but I was very impressed by Bombers 1 getting the job done. I thought Parrish took his chance really well. And just seeing Tom Papley play good football, it was. I think this point, like, my mental state of mind was literally going downhill rapidly. And yeah, when it broke me a little bit. I mean, Papley looked good. I mean, Callum Mills, he was okay. But I mean, like, I was impressed with Essendon. I thought they were dogged, and I think dogged is a good word for them. It wasn't a spectacular performance in the terms of I'd pay to watch it, but it was exciting. And I mean, I'm just buzzing. Footy's back, man. You can't bring me down anymore. And then I had to watch the worst thing in the world. So some dumbass in this house might have had a bet with their wife, who's a St Kilda fan, on the team that finishes higher will get a foot rub whenever they want for a year. Yeah, that was me. And I had to watch St Kilda go nuts, man. Like, St Kilda looked one hell of a football side. Jack Billings, Jack Steele, Zach Jones, man. They were good. I mean, McRae looks a shadow of his former self. The only good thing that came out of this game for me, apart from feeling miserable myself, having to spend the night sleeping on the couch for my attitude in the Carlton game and throwing a remote, was watching her buzz because her team won. And yeah, they were impressive, man. And it's hard not to like St Kilda, I think, because I am enjoying them, because I like Ratton. And like, I was against Ratton coming back, and it looks like I was a complete dickhead. I'll hold my hands up. What a moron Poms was. But there it is. I've said it. I thought they were very good. I watched the press conference with Ratton about in the changing rooms telling the players that they need to show a passion, and what they did in round 1 wasn't acceptable. And boy, did they respond. And Dan Butler, man, what a footballer. What could have been. Imagine Butler and Betts. Oh, God, it hurts. It hurts. And then we went to, like, just, obviously footy's back now, so the media have got something to talk about, and it just went mad, didn't it? Sam Newman went proper boomer on the situation, where he came out and said that the football was becoming a political body. They have no idea why they're kneeling, and players are being forced to take a knee. Fuck me. This is a man who protested outside of Parliament to play fecking golf. What is going on with the world? Is there nothing more important? You know, Sam Newman, like, I respect Sam. He's given me a lot of good times. The Footy Show, one of my favourite places to watch. I loved watching him make a complete tit of himself. But please, whichever grandkid gave you access to social media, stop it. Stop it. It's madness, man. There's some things you say and there's some things you don't, but Sam Newman has missed the boat, and he's actually got a plane to the wrong freaking island. What a melt. He's having a bubble, and I'm sorry for anyone who had to read that drivel. And I think the worst thing about it is not the message he sent, but it was the fact that I've had to agree with Caro this week. Fuck me, what a bad week for Pom. Like, never mind what's going on in the world, let's talk me. I had 3 out of 9 in me tipping. TPI didn't predict any shock, it got 4 out of 9. My team lost. I'm broken, man. I had to sleep on the couch. I'm going to give foot rubs for a year. And I agreed with Carol. Fuck me. It was meant to be so much better. Believe it or not, at school, I was meant to be the one that was going to have the happy life. Wrong! And then Kane Cornes, obviously, he did his usual thing of there's nothing else to talk about. We can't talk about fires because we're out of the fire season, so let's pick on Carlton. And he did 2 wonderful little articles. One making sure he's got a job in trade period, and the first one bagging the club. And you know what, I've got to say, yeah, he was right, it was unacceptable. I mean, here's another one, I agreed with Kane Cornes. Oh, this has been a bad freaking week. I mean, the only way this can be worse is if Prince Charles suddenly becomes the king because Queen Elizabeth abdicates. Sewn up, innit? But yeah, he basically went on to say that it was unacceptable. The team's piss, basically. He pointed out the first quarter, which I thought was ironic, that SPS, Ploughman was in no man's land and that Fritsch is a midget and took a mark. Yeah, it was hard to actually watch a game and suddenly agree with Cripps. I thought what was interesting though is his other article about Cripper, and it was kind of validated what I was saying about we didn't have the experience, and it was alluding to that kid, Simpson and Mark Murphy, the only players in the teams that have played finals, who are the senior bodies to help him. And yeah, I agree with him in that aspect, but do I worry about Cripps? So he's suggesting that Cripps needs to go, because obviously we are, in his words, a failure. I don't think it'll happen, and I'll tell you for why. I don't believe a word of the press conference when he said that it's magical to build things. He would be mad to say I'm thinking about going to West Coast or Fremantle. He would be mad. I've watched a lot of sport. I come from soccer where when a player says they're going to stay, it usually means they've signed a contract elsewhere. But I genuinely do believe that Cripps is an absolute workhorse and he's invested a lot into this team. And I do think the tides will turn by 2021. I am 100% believe something will happen. Whether it's this year, I don't know. But I do think by that stage we will be in a better position. We'll have another trade period. Nick Austin will do his magic. And hopefully we bring the experience that we so desperately need to help him. But for me, I think one thing that I was impressed about with the Melbourne performance was Cripper going up forward. I've been saying this for 2 years. He needs to be used in a more dimensional way. He's a very talented footballer. He's a tough matchup. And I enjoyed that. Even though we missed the set shots and I've been a bit harsh on him, I'm back to loving him again. I don't think he'll leave. I think he's at this club until we win a flag. I think more likely he wins a flag and then requests a trade home and it's like job done. But I don't see it, and I think Kane Cornes is just literally knows they're delaying contracts, so he's got 6 months of bollocks at the end of the season. So, good one, Kane. I agreed with you once. I'll interject on this one. And then the other thing Kane Cornes said was Connor Rosie is a better footballer than Sam Walsh. Will be a better footballer than Sam Walsh. I don't see it. I don't see it. Because I see Connor, in my opinion, I think Connor Rosie is a great footballer and I think he's absolutely phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, I think he'll probably be up there and in a Dustin Martin type kudos role. But I think Sam Walsh will be loved and remembered more dearly by his fans than Connor Rosie will. And I think he will be a kind of like a Mark Murphy figure, but with like gaff-like numbers. That type of player that's going to be really revered by his club and probably will be the future captain of this football club when Cripps does retire, or when Cripps, I'd imagine Cripps strikes me as the kind of person that would stand down when someone presents themselves after he's done what he needs to. And for me, I disagree. I think they'll be on par, but I'd say Walsh probably has the trump purely because he's got the game that accumulates. I can't see Connor Rosie just getting many 30-touch games. I see him more as like a Dustin Martin, that 22, 2 or 3 important goals. I think he's a big game player. But I see a lot of Walsh, and a lot of Walsh's criticism of him turning it over. Look what he's trying to do with the ball. And once he learns them lessons, Mark Murphy was wasteful at the start. So was Judge, so was Cousins. They try things, and geniuses like that need to try and they need to fail to better equip themselves. And I think if he had the help that Rosie has a a lot of solid help around him, he'd probably impact a game a lot more than he has done, which he already has done a lot. So I think Kane, again, he's got his Port Adelaide glasses on, and fair play to him because I do as well when I do this. And I've been referred to today as the Count Kane Cornes, which I don't know whether I take as a compliment or an insult. But genuinely I respect Kane Cornes. I think sometimes he says things that are complete out there. But overall, I respect the humility to stand up and say the ridiculousness he does without a beer. Because I say a lot of this kind of stuff that Kane Cornes does, but I'm usually 12 beers deep, man, and being forced to sleep on the couch like I was against Carlton. And then if that wasn't bad enough, we had some complete, absolute boffin of a bloke. decide that in 2020, with all that's going on, we've got the horrible things happening over in the States, we're starting to get focus on a real important cause in Black Lives Matter, and then some complete and absolute muppet of a bloke decides to drop an insult, a slur, a racial slur on the great Eddie Betts. And to top it all off, guess who he is? He's a Bombers fan. Absolute wind-up. I'll tell you what, if 2020 doesn't need to piss off home soon, it needs to right now. I tell you what, that is the line through 2020. I didn't think 2020 could get any worse, but evidently bigotry still exists in this great free land we call Australia. Full credit though to the Essendon fans. Gotta say, you stuck by it and you supported us through. Eddie Betts is a gentleman of this great football world, and for me, he's one of them players, like one of my favourite players of all time is Adam Goodes. For me, like Indigenous players, just I get excited. I think every Indigenous player I've ever seen, I just froth. And to me, if ever there was a time now to rally together, fly the flag for Eddie, man. If that doesn't get you thumped up and you just want to and if that doesn't teach us that, you know, we need to call it out. We need to stand for it. If your friend does it, your mate thinks it's funny, it's time to stand up and be counted, because we are all one. And I'll tell you what, if you've got kids at home, buy Eddie Betts' children's books, man. Really good at explaining diversity to small children. It's really important that this is stamped hard, because I come from a country where this was a huge part of our sport for many years. And it's a disgrace, it's an aberration, it's a scourge on who we are as humans. I mean, we're never going to improve and fix the ills if we can't just love each other and see beyond simple stereotypes. I mean, you're on Pommyinoz show and I'm saying that. But you know what I mean. I mean, come on, we're better than that, people. You guys are better than that. I'm an honorary Australian. I defected because that's how much I love you guys. You're better than that. Let's stamp it out, man. Let's stamp it out together, all of us. I mean, all in all, great to have footy back. Great to have you guys as well. I've really seen a big increase in watching and interaction, and I love interacting with you guys. Like, for me, my moment of the round, though, was seeing Matt Rowell play. That was a wonderful game. It's great to see a first-year player, and it's great to see happiness at Gold Coast. I really mean that from the bottom of my heart. If you are a Gold Coast fan, I think there's like 7 of you now, like, kudos to you, man. It's brilliant. I mean, that was my favourite moment, and probably my worst moment was agreeing with Caroline and Kane Cornes. What a bad weekend. Oh dear. But we live, we learn, we move on. We've got footy coming up soon. There'll be some more content. This is a special video though. I really want to thank everyone individually. All 112 of you at the moment who have signed and subscribed. Means absolute the world to me. I've been on a high. It really dug me out of a deep place. Really glad. Hopefully you'll tune in for a Poms celebration on Saturday. Probably might be another Poms rant though. I'm going to warn you though, these rants are going to get 2 times worse every time we have them first quarters. It's what happens with me. But thanks so much for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. You've been terrific. Have a marvellous weekend. Pom out.